Yeah, hi, this is Mike Swan. It's good to see you today. One thing that's neat about being a writer of the financial markets, having these websites, and what I do is I have access to all kinds of other experts and traders and other people who really know what they're doing, real savvy about the market. So I can use their information and kind of distill different sources and help myself and hopefully help you too. And travel around. I go to lots of investment conferences, made lots of friendships over the years. And one of the best ones I've got is with Dave Skarica, who has the site addictedtoprofits.net, right? It's
Yep.
.net. And we're actually in the Bahamas right now. This is where Dave lives. And I met you back in, I think it was 2002, wasn't it, at first?
Yes, it was, yeah.
And that was the reason why, because I was trying to find someone who really knew a lot about gold stocks and commodities and energy stocks. Because I was bearish on the market up, for started in 2000, then 2002. It looked to me as if a new bull market in this sector was starting, and I didn't know anything about it. I was trying to find someone who did, and that's how I bumped into you.
What's interesting about like me or Mike and I is that when he told me, we were both bearish in the market, but we had different ways of kind of, dealing with it. In that Mike shorted a lot of the tech stocks in 2000 and did very well. It's probably still one of the best trades you've ever made.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And for myself, I was bearish on the market and bullish on commodities, and bullish on gold, because gold, as you go, is the opposite of the market. So my way of dealing with it is that 99 and 2000, rather than shorting tech stocks, I was seeing gold companies, and then in 2002, 2003, as it was a bit more smaller junior producers and junior companies. So, because the bull markets usually work their way down. So Mike found me, and he was like, well, the stocks look really good. And I was like, well, Mike, at that time, probably for about a year, I started already speaking at these conferences, and I was telling him I speak at these conferences, and I know a lot of people in the industry and in the sector, so I'd probably be a good addition to your website. So I wrote for Mike's site for about maybe a year or two, and then even after I left, we're still good friends, and we go to conferences together, and we travel together, and he comes visit me. I was at his place back in March, right? So it's just kind of been even more than the business side of things, it's more of a friendship rather than anything else. So, he decided to come down here. I told him, by early November, things are getting a little shady up where he lives in terms of the weather.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can see, come down here, it's sunny, it's 80 degrees. We're at this little coffee place, Milano. If you're ever in Nassau, it's right next to the Sandals Resort on Cable Beach. And it's kind of one of my little, it's probably my little hangout. It's got probably the best coffee on the island. And so he just came down here and we're going to hang out for a few days. We're going to shoot some of these videos for the website, have some good Bohemian food.
Yeah, we're going to do a couple follow-up videos and really get more into some specifics on, what's going on in the market and what, what your trading investment philosophy is. One thing about knowing you, though, is there's so many newsletters out there for stocks and so forth. And I basically subscribe to 6, and kind of distill them and along with my own work. But I find it useful, to get other sources of information.
I think the problem with the whole analyst community, or the newsletter thing, is that people take what you write sometimes, not everyone, but at face value. If you're wrong in the market or you have a bad investment, it's kind of they'll ask you what your portfolio is doing. And I think the whole point of doing what we do is that we're more or less just providing information. These are a stock I like, this is what I think the market's going to do. The last 3 issues I did, for example, my newsletter were very educational about where we are in the long-term cycle, the crash that we just had in the market, how this fits into past market crashes, what's going on in the commodities markets, blah, blah, blah. And it's more information. It's you take this, and I think I've given you some good historical, or the markets with a good historical context, and do what you want with it. And if you like 1 or 2 of the companies on my list, right, buy them. But by no means throw your life savings into a bunch of junior recommendations I have, or some nonsense like that.
With my own writing, I'm trying to not really, give people all these predictions. I'm trying to do 2 things really. I'm trying to show people how I think or why I think I do, and educate them really on trading and investing and so forth.
Me too.
And then try to say, well, this is what's going on now. and these are the trends in the market. These are things that may change them. But I really try to show the people what it is I'm actually looking at and thinking about, instead of just like make a bunch of statements or predictions, because that's really what you hear on television. Oh, the market's going up, it's going down, or whatever.
Exactly.
And we really try to provide people more than that. But with you, one thing that you really have that I don't have, and not very few people do, is you really have a lot of connections with this gold industry and the commodity industry by going to all these investment conferences and speaking at them, which is really what you need when you're getting into this, the more like junior stock market.
We've talked about this. The problem with the juniors is that, and you wrote this one time, there couldn't be anything more true, is that Mike runs for most junior companies don't have much, and they just kind of want a newsletter writer to write up the stock and promote the stock, and whatever, guys dump their shares, or you have junior companies run by guys who really can't do anything. They're just kind of like, I don't want to be too insulting, but just kind of incompetence or whatever. Like, they're honest people and they mean well, but they just can't get things doing. So now that I've been in the industry for 7 8 years, and every junior in the last 3-4 months has gotten slaughtered. It doesn't matter how good, because of this deleveraging and panic and dumping. But the nice thing when you're coming out of a period like this, if the juniors come back, I have the connections in the industry where you're right. I know the guys who put together the good deals. I know, hopefully know the good deals to invest in and the whatnot. And then even in terms of, like, I'm in the midst of setting up a small hedge fund right now. And in the fund, I'll be able to invest in seed and early stage financings in these deals and do that. We've done that ourselves as well through having connections in the industry. So, in the junior market, it really is the people are the most important thing. Is the people put in the properties, they finance the companies, they do the drilling, they put together the management teams, they deal with the politicians and the politics around having to put the mine into production and the whatnot. So, in that smaller industry, it's really who you know. And I've gotten to the point now where, if you look at, like, say, some of the junior stocks on my list, I know there may be other great companies, but I know a group, say 4 or 5 different groups so well, I'm just comfortable dealing with them. Like, not dealing with them so much, but it's just recommending their companies, because I know these guys are going to do good. Where a new guy comes in, I don't know if this guy's a scammer or if he's just like, telling me, whatever. I'm just kind of like, I know these people who have lived through the good times, lived through the bad times, and I know they put together quality deals. Like a guy we've talked about is Stan Barty, who put together Desert Sun Mining, and that's a classic example of a good junior deal that it was taken over by Yamana, went up a lot.
Yeah, it was like 50 cents when you first found it, and
it went as
like
high as $10 when Yamana took them over. And
he's got bunches of companies that
that have production and have big resources, and that's exactly.
What's the one that's 10 or 12? Or it was.
It's a Consolidated Thompson.
Yeah, that's a big, what is it, nickel or ore or something?
Yeah, it's iron ore up in northern Quebec.
But this is a guy, he's got like a track record of bringing companies into production and so, really successful deals.
And I think that's the thing you have to understand. It's like, don't take us at face value. Everyone's going to have mistakes. I know Stan about 10 years ago had a couple deals that didn't do well, but he bounced back and has had way more winners than lose. And it's kind of like writing the newsletters like that. You're going to be wrong sometimes, but you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But see, a guy like him is a guy that if he tells me something, like if I talk to him and say, hey, look, I got this new deal, blah, 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 I'll really, significantly look at it, because he's made money, he's had deals put into production, and, so that's kind of, I guess, where I come in. We're kind of, Mike, I think, is, looks at the macro picture, and he's more short to intermediate term, where I'm more longer term kind of outlooking, and I know some of the guys in the industry, but where Mike's advantage is, I'll be blunt with you, he's one of the most disciplined, sounds like a kiss butt fest here, right? But Mike's one of the most, disciplined traders I've ever seen. Like, part of the problem I've had, I was doing very well, and I'm, till July, and then a lot of these junior deals fell apart. And part of the problem, that I know people is good and bad. The good part of it is, I think actually right now in this market where we're bottoming the juniors, that's awesome, because I know the good guys, I know the good things to get into. But the problem is that if you know them a little too well, you really like the deal, and sometimes you can ignore that when the market's like kind of rolling over or something.
Oh, I've done that myself with a couple stocks and learned that lesson. So
I think we've all learned that lesson. Like the thing is, what I do is I usually just take my trading, position off the table, and then I have a long-term position. And then when something like this happens in the market, like you talked about that CLM, Consolidated Thompson, like we're not doing recommendations here, but yeah, that was as high as $8, and now it's under $2, and nothing's changed at the company. And and
I haven't looked at it.
I think that's one I'm really looking at here because it's just the market that's done it to it. It has really nothing to do with the internal structure of the company or the whatnot. So yeah, I think like again in this kind of market, when you're going to start the junior bull, it's good to know people.
Well, we're going to have to take off a few minutes, but it's good visiting with you, and we'll be doing a couple more of these and get into more specifics and details. So we'll be talking to you later.
See you later.